The Israeli army attacked southern Lebanon as part of an offensive that has killed at least 275 people so far. Colombia requests a security summit with Venezuela and Mexico to warn about the Israeli software Pegasus aimed at spying on Presidents Nicolás Maduro and Gustavo Petro. And in Latin America, several countries face devastating forest fires. Brazil's Amazon and Pantanal region registered their worst records in 2 decades. Hello, welcome from the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Israeli occupation forces killed at least 275 people in new airstrikes against southern Lebanon. Local media report that occupation troops carried out this Monday new air raids against several Hezbollah resistance military centers as part of the escalation of hostilities. This is one of the most intense air raids in almost a year against the Lebanese resistance movement, which have also left more than 1,025 wounded. However, Israeli leaders promise harsher actions in the coming days. The Lebanese Ministry of Health warned that the death toll and wounded are mostly women and children, and also affirmed that at least 300 targets, including civilian areas, have been bombed. Meanwhile, the Lebanese Information Minister Siad Makari denounced on Monday the Israeli genocidal war on his country.
The continuing Israeli aggression on Lebanon is a war of extermination in every sense of the word, and a destructive plan aimed at destroying Lebanese villages and towns and eliminating green areas.
On Sunday night, the Lebanese Islamic Resistance Movement, Hezbollah, stated that it launched 5 new attacks against military positions located in territories illegally occupied by the Israeli army. Through several statements, the Shiite militia specified that it attacked the military posts of al-Baghdadi, Mayan Buruch, and radar systems installed in the Sheba farms, Lebanese territory illegally occupied by Israel. Hezbollah declared that its attacks, which caused material damage and injuries, were in response to the Zionist occupation's incursions into southern Lebanon and in solidarity with the Palestinian resistance in Gaza and the West Bank. And on Monday, Israeli occupation forces spokesperson Daniel Hagari assured to go on the Israeli offensive at the Bekaa Valley regardless what this might take the lives of innocent civilians.
Today, for the first time in this manner, we have warned the residents of Lebanon. And I am warning now the residents of the Bekaa Valley, ahead of a targeted and large-scale strike that we will carry out in the Bekaa Valley. Our mission is to return the residents of the north to their homes in safety, and we will do whatever is necessary to achieve this.
The Israeli occupation forces commit a new war crime by attacking another school sheltering displaced persons in the center of the Gaza Strip. On Sunday, Army helicopters dropped shelling which hit the upper floor of the Khalid bin al-Walid school in Nusayrat refugee camp. The airstrike killed at least 3 civilians, including a 5-year-old girl, and injured several people. The Israeli troops was quick to justify the aggression by claiming that the school was being used by Hamas as a non-command center. Over 500 educational facilities have been stricken in the Gaza Strip since October 2023, when the Zionist regime waged a genocidal war in the devastated Palestinian enclave.
We heard an explosion and ran, and found the room on fire, and started screaming. And people came. And we entered the room and found something horrific. Mujahid, his wife, and their 5-year-old daughter, all in pieces.
Palestinian authorities denounced the detention of over 10,000 civilians in the occupied West Bank by the Israeli occupation forces since October 2023. Several organizations defending the rights of Palestinian prisoners claim that Tel Aviv troops have been conducting constant detention operations in various governorates of the occupied West Bank. An information backed by Palestinian authorities that further assured the Zionist regime commits abuses, aggressions, and threats against the detainees and their families, in addition to vandalism and destruction of citizens' homes. According to data from these entities, the Israeli genocidal forces have arrested over 10,800 people since October 7, 2023. In other news, the government of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad issued a general amnesty for all those who have committed crimes and infractions before September 22nd, with a 4-month deadline for deserters. Announced by the Syrian president, the general amnesty of legislative nature seeks to offer an opportunity for reintegration to those who have violated the laws and includes, in turn, the crimes of escape contemplated in the Military Penal Code. The amnesty is extended to army deserters, both those inside and outside Syrian territory, and they are granted a 4-month period in which to invoke the law and return to the country without fear of retaliation. Certain crimes considered as serious attacks against society and the state are excluded. Let's now take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. On Monday, the government of Colombia requested a security summit with Venezuela and Mexico to debate on the risk posed by the Israeli software Pegasus and the scope of espionage. This way, Colombian Senator Antonio Correa reported that the Pegasus spy software purchased for $11 million by the government of Iván Duque from Israel aims at destabilizing progressive governments such as Venezuela and Mexico. Pegasus, developed by the Israeli corporation NSO Group, has become a high-level espionage tool capable of infiltrating mobile devices in an almost imperceptible way. President Gustavo Petro described the acquisition of the spy software as a serious violation of the privacy of citizens, so an investigation was initiated to determine whether crimes were committed in this alleged espionage operation or not.
I believe that information must be urgently shared among brotherly countries so that we can determine who was the person or entity that took the $11 million in financial transactions and cash to Israel. Because this issue cannot be forgotten, and it cannot be said that because we did not find legal traces, then there was no spyware.
The Supreme Court of Justice of Venezuela requests a preventive measure of deprivation of liberty against the President of Argentina, Javier Milei. The statement reads, the Cassation Chamber of the Supreme Court of Justice informs the following. The Court of First Instance in control functions of the metropolitan area of Caracas in pursuant of the request made by the Public Prosecutor's Office on September 18, 2024, in which it states, the statement follows by quoting, we formally request to decree the preventive detention measures based on the investigation followed against the natural persons of the citizens Javier Gerardo Milei in his capacity as President of the Republic of Argentina, Karina Elizabeth Milei in her capacity as General Secretary of the Presidency of the Republic of Argentina, and Patricia Bullrich in her capacity as Minister of Security of the Nation of the Republic of Argentina for the crimes of aggravated theft, legitimization of capital simulation of punishable acts, legitimate privation of liberty, illicit interference in the operational security of civil aviation, utilization of aircraft, and association in accordance with the provisions of the substantive criminal forms. It closes quotations and ends by stating, agreed as requested. And in Bolivia, the Defender of the People's Office made a new call for dialogue in the context of the mobilizations that are heading towards the city of La Paz. The Defender of the People's Office invited President of Bolivia, Luis Arce, and former President Evo Morales to establish dialogue. Bolivian authorities also ratified a willingness to meet and avoid confrontations. The government also emphasized that it has already invited Evo Morales on 2 occasions to hold talks to resolve differences without harming the welfare of the people. This occurs after last September 20th, when Arce did not accept Morales' invitation to talk in a march, while the former president was absent from a meeting called by the Bolivian executive at the Ministry of Education headquarters.
Han hablado de guerra civil y de derramamiento de sangre en las calles.
They have spoken of civil war and the shedding of blood in the streets. This expresses intentions that exceed our norms of peaceful coexistence, and even conceal a political position of sedition that no government will tolerate. Our government, to this day, has responded to these provocations with a call for dialogue. We have always been convinced that it is still possible to find positive solutions to conflicts despite our differences.
President Arce took the opportunity to reiterate his government's willingness and decision to accept the invitation of the defenders of the people.
Despite the environment of confrontation that has been generated, the government ratifies its decision to summon you and the delegation of those accompanying you, within the framework of mutual respect, to hold a dialogue on the aspects that have already been answered in writing by our government. We accept the summons of the defender of the people. Let's have a dialogue without conditions in the facilities of the defender's office.
Finally, the Bolivian head of state indicated that he will not allow a civil war to take place and that he will rely on compliance with the law to resolve this complicated situation.
No caeremos en ese juego, y al contrario.
We will not fall into that game, and on the contrary, we will act as the current legal instruments and the political constitution of the state require us to do. A civil war, as one of your operators says, is precisely what the internal and external enemies of our plurinational state of Bolivia want, to offer it again to imperialism. We will not allow it. For there to be civil war, at least, two antagonistic fronts are needed, and that is a pleasure we will not give you. Our bet is for peace, and it is possible to conquer it today on the basis of dialogue and rigorous compliance with our current regulations.
The Ecuadorian government announced a week of power outages from Monday to Sunday in several time slots despite the initial plan of an 8-hour blackout for 4 days a week. In a press release, the Minister of Energy and Mines, Antonio Gonçalves, expressed that it is necessary to redistribute power outages planned for the next couple of days. The Ecuadorian population mainly posted on social media to criticize the government's decision to warn at night of the changes in the outage program. The country has been facing blackouts since the end of 2023 due to the lack of maintenance to the networks, the failure to comply with plans to increase electricity generation, as well as corruption problems and a serious drought affecting hydroelectric plants. We have come to a short break, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English. You will be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Fun short break, and go away. Welcome back. The Brazilian government deployed its armed forces in the Amazon region of the country to fight off climate terrorism. The Ministry of Defense ordered the commanders of the National Army, Navy and Aeronautics to ensure the efforts to count on the troops in the region. The military will provide support for the supply of teledetection images, the use of the fire panel with specialized personnel, and the training of authorities involved in combating the fires. The National Executive further requested the military entity to quantify the necessary resources to plan and execute actions in the field and to designate a series of officers to form a joint command. In this context, in Argentina, after the fires that have destroyed more than 40,000 hectares in the province of Córdoba, social movements requested the national government to declare the country in a state of emergency. To date, more than 20 houses have been burned and dozens of people have been evacuated due to the blazes that have spread to other localities such as Ascochinga, La Granja, and San Marcos Sierras. Precisely in the latter, the fire, which began in August and has had large outbreaks, devastated part of the diversity of the region's native forest and burned some 12,000 hectares. Meanwhile, in Bolivia, firefighting operations continue with 2 heavy aircraft and 3 armed forces helicopters in the affected regions. The Bolivian Air Force reported that they currently have 3 heavy aircraft with a total discharge capacity of 30,000 liters per mission as part of the new phase of the Guardian Air Mitigation Plan. Operations concentrated on Sunday in the Monteverde area as a prioritized region to safeguard the population. And in Colombia, the National Unit for Disaster Risk Management indicated the maximum alert continues at the national level due to at least 14 active forest fires and more than 10,000 hectares affected. To date, authorities indicate that the Department of Tolima is the hardest hit area, and emergency teams remain deployed to quell the fires. And in Japan, authorities reported 6 people dead and 2 others missing during torrential rains in Ishikawa Prefecture. According to official reports, several bodies were discovered under the rubble of a collapsed house. 2 workers lost their lives after being trapped in a tunnel, and the body of another person was found near an overflowing river. Authorities report that the most affected cities are Wajima and Suzu, each reporting a fall of 300 and 200 millimeters of water respectively. Over the weekend, Japanese authorities ordered the evacuation of more than 130,000 people in 7 cities and villages in the prefecture, as well as the deployment of emergency teams to attend to the affected population and search for the missing people. In our news, Anura Kumara Dissanayake was sworn in as Sri Lanka's 9th executive president before the head of the Supreme Court, Jayantha Jayasuriya, supported by a crowd outside the venue of the event. As part of the ceremony, Dissanayake, also known as AKD, declared his commitment to the nation and citizens of the South Asian island. The leader and candidate of the National People's Power was elected president of Sri Lanka after a second counting of votes in the elections held last Saturday, with 38 aspirants to the highest office. Dissanayake obtained 42.31% of the ballots counted. Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa 32.76%, and former President Ranil Wickremesinghe, who was seeking re-election, came in third with 17.27%.
We are inheriting a nation in a deep crisis. This crisis cannot be overcome by a government, a political party, or an individual alone. I am not a conjurer or a magician. I am a common citizen. I have strengths and limitations, things I know and things I don't. However, my priority is to identify capabilities, acquire the knowledge I lack, and make informed decisions to lead this country.
Kumara also expressed during his speech their willingness to work and foster relations with other nations since they are in need of international support.
Our country needs international support. Regardless of the power divisions in the world, we intend to work with other nations to benefit our country. We are not a nation that should be isolated, but one that must move forward collectively with others. We will not hesitate to make the necessary decisions in this regard.
And Venezuelan Foreign Minister Ivan Hill congratulated Anura Kumara Dissanayake on his election as president of Sri Lanka on Sunday. In a message posted on his Telegram channel, the minister said, "We congratulate Anura Kumara Dissanayake after his election as president of Sri Lanka from Venezuela. We send an embrace of solidarity to the president-elect and his people, ratifying our will to advance in relations of friendship and cooperation for mutual benefit." Ladies, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website, telesurenglish.net. So join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thanks for watching.